As a lot of you guys know, my daily driver is a 2007 Infiniti FX35 Sport. It's about time I put some money into it. Can't just drive the NSX around all the time looking nice. Want to get some wheels? For over a decade, 4Wheel Online has been bringing the best truck accessories and truck parts to enhance the appearance and performance of all trucks and SUVs. They're dedicated to providing an extensive range of upgrades that will match any maker model on the road. Their truck products cover everything you need for a custom look and added functionality. I was talking about a wheel and tire package. Head over and use a configuration tool. They carry all the major brands of wheels and tires, so go get outfitted today. Visit them at 4Wheel Online. That's 4Wheel, singular, online. This is the Hard Parking Podcast, The Other Side of the Wheel, brought to you by Wright Honda in Scottsdale, Arizona. And I am your host, Jay Finning, in studio by myself today. I need more friends. The plan for The Other Side of the Wheel, which is the shorter version of the podcast, is to always have an in-studio voice. Just somebody else in here to laugh at my dad jokes and introduce the segments. I did not have that this week. No worries. I'm going to take up your time by getting into some automotive news and telling you about my trip. I just bought a 2009 Infiniti FX50S out of Kentucky. And I'm going to tell you all about that in just a few minutes. Also coming up on today's show, AZ Ride of the Week, we're going to talk to Chris Moffitt, which is AZ_Stinger on Instagram. And then I'm going to give you my random thought of the week. So let's jump right into it. Now that I have a different car, instead of a 2007 Infiniti FX35 Sport, now I need to re-record the 4Wheel Online ad spot. So one of the things that makes the FX50S kind of unique is they didn't make a lot of them. They come with, well, my 2009 comes with magnesium paddle shifters, which are the same ones they use in the GTR. Also, it has rear wheel steering. Now I can turn the steering wheel all the way to the left or right, and I can't go out and actually visually see it, but it's there. And I have to assume that it helps tremendously in making U-turns. How cool is that? Let's do a little bit of comparison between the two cars. So my 2007, so the cars almost look identical. So basically I have Gen 1 and Gen 2 of the same car, much like the NSX is how they did the facelift in 2002. Although the 91 to 2005 is essentially the same car. Essentially, the G2 Infiniti FX series is essentially the same car, just with a few changes to the interior and the exteriors. But there's a significant power difference too. My 35 is a V6 280 horsepower, like 200 something torque. Plenty of fun. It's like basically a sports car. So if you've never driven an Infiniti FX, whether it's a 35, a 45, a 50, or a QX70, which is what they eventually called them, this V8 is 390 horsepower, 300 and something torque, like 380 foot of torque. That's a significant jump when you have the same size car, essentially. And it's exciting. I had a lot of fun driving it back from Kentucky. So here's the story. First off, the seller, this wasn't the easiest transaction. I don't know how many cars this guy has sold over the years or purchased, but this was in Russell Springs, Kentucky. It's 1,800 population, and it's around nothing. So the first thing I need to do was, okay, well, got the financing, and this guy wanted me to make sure the funds were good and send over a thing that says I wouldn't cancel the check and all this weird shit. This guy's an attorney too. So I'm like, come on, guy. I mean, if I'm going to screw anybody over, it's not going to be you. I said, I don't know how often you do this kind of stuff, but I'm assuming all the risk here. I'm flying 2,700 miles and have to get someone to take me 2.5 hours to you. If anything happens to the car, I am screwed. I am taking all the risk on this one. Now, this wasn't my first choice car. It was probably my third or fourth, but these cars pop up and then they disappear. And that's the FX50S. Because you can get an FX50 and it's still hard to get those, but the FX50S is a little more difficult to get. They made them from 2009 to 2012, I think, maybe 13, and then they switched over to the QX70, which again is the same car. He finally stopped screwing with me on that one. Also, there's no transportation. I called all these towns around Russell Springs. The closest town to the west is 30 miles. The closest town to the east is 30 miles, and I called both of them. And the reason why I called them is because I planned to rent a car in Nashville, which I flew into. Well, first my wife was going to go with me, And then she decided not the last minute, she decided she couldn't because my mother-in-law who lives with us had an appointment on that Friday. And I wanted to fly out as early as I could on Friday so that I can get there. And if everything worked out, pick up the car and start driving back immediately. Because again, this is 2,700 miles away. So if I try to do that within all day Saturday and Sunday, that would make for 2 very long days. And I just don't do the continuous driving anymore. I just can't do it. And there's a lot of nothing in between A and B. So the plan was to go to Nashville, rent a vehicle, and take the vehicle one way to the nearest rental facility and then catch a ride, like catch a taxi, an Uber, or a Lyft to Russell Springs. There's no taxis, there's no Ubers, there's no Lyfts. That means there's no ride from either one of these 2 towns outside that I was calling. So I was kind of screwed. Major shout out to Gene Curtis. One thing that's really cool about being on these Facebook groups and being in car groups online is you become friends and your name gets familiar with people that you never even met. But the commonality is your hobby. And so I put an APB out. I said, hey, do we have anybody near Russell Springs, Kentucky? There's a car there. I'm just trying to see, because my thought is that maybe one of the fellow NSX people can come pick me up and take me there. I would pay them for it, but I was running out of options. And I didn't want this thing to be the reason why I couldn't complete this deal. And it's kind of one of those things where you buy a car, if it's not super special, you kind of want to drive it back just for the experience. So I put an ABP out. Gene Curtis posts, he goes, hey, bud, I'm a car dealer. Hit me up. So I sent him a DM and we ended up getting in contact. And so he actually hired one of his drivers to pick me up from the airport and take me 2.5 hours to Russell Springs. So I get to Nashville, driver pulls up. His name is Bud, of course, right? Bud, old guy, has been driving for years, been retired for 30 years officially, and has driven everywhere, 42 states. And I'm making a video about this. So make sure you check out the YouTube Hard Parking Podcast or Hard Parking Media. They both get you to me. And hopefully within the next week of this podcast being released, the video is available. Hell, it might be available by the time the podcast was released. So I'm in the car with a complete stranger, a lot of small talk. We get there, check out their car. It's just sitting in the bank parking lot. The guy comes and meets us there. We do all the exchange. I get in the car. So the car is about 85% as cool or as nice as advertised. First off, it was advertised with 118,000 miles on it. It actually had 126. And my wife was getting on me. You're going to get on me too, but you have to understand sometimes shit just doesn't fucking work out. But she was yelling at me to get the vehicle inspected. Now you have to understand dealing with this seller was kind of a pain in the ass. So the thought is, well, why just screw it? Wait for another one to pop up. Yes. But here's the thing. I'd already got approved for my credit union. I had 30 days to pick a vehicle. The original vehicle that I got approved for, I lowballed the hell out of them. And then by the time I came back, I was number 50 in line. Some kid had already put down a deposit and it just wasn't going to work. So this was probably the 4th or 5th one that I'd found. I wanted black on black or white on black. That's it. There's a bunch of other colors out there, but those are the colors I wanted. Couldn't have crazy miles. Couldn't be crazy expensive. I didn't want to spend over $16,000 on a daily driver because the thought was to buy it, bring it home, sell my other Infiniti, which I'm a little worried about selling. It's nice, but I just don't know if they sell. My wife's going to kill me if I can't sell it. So I didn't get the car inspected. I asked the guy, I would be more than happy to pay for a dealership to come pick it up and take it and inspect it. The guy just all crickets when I would ask stuff like that. And I'm like, all right, I'm not a communication major, but I think I have a pretty good understanding of how to effectively communicate with people and learn people's communication styles. And this guy's communication style just wasn't working for these requests. So it was a risk. So anyway, the car's got a few spiders on the outside, which is weirding me out. Bad juju, says my wife, but it's been sitting in this parking lot in Russell Springs, Kentucky for a week. It could just collect spiders. The place is green as hell, like middle of nowhere green. Do the transaction. Car smells like it may have been sitting for a while. He may have had the windows down. It may have been rained in at some point. Like it didn't smell like mildew, but it just smelled like damp, dead leaves in the middle of the woods. So if any of you know what that smells like, and it wasn't a strong smell, it was faint. And you smelled it more when you roll the windows down and you open up the sunroof. And his cologne, his cheap cologne. These are my thoughts. That's what it smelled like. So I get on the road. 20 minutes down the road, the service engine soon light comes on. Of course. of course. So I hightail it. I'm driving and I go through, I'm hungry, right? So I go to Captain D's. Now, Captain D's is a place. So for some of you listening, you know exactly what Captain D's is. Some of you don't. I think you all know what Long John Silver's is, I think. Unless you're in another country, then you don't know. It's basically a fast food seafood place. And we hadn't had Captain D's in so many years. We, as in my family, we used to have them in Garland, Texas, and they all closed down. And I remember them. I don't remember if they were good or not. I just remember it. So I pull over, get into this Captain D's. Not great food. I didn't really expect it to be great food. That's also in the video. But I am hours away from my destination. The next stop was Clarksville, Tennessee. In Clarksville, Tennessee, there's a liquor store called Elite Wine and Spirits. You could look it up. Elite Wine and Spirits, Clarksville, Tennessee. Now, I had communicated with them earlier in the week on some liquor, and they had posted a picture. I went through their Facebook page and found them because I was looking for some place that I could stop. I mean, come on, you're in Kentucky, you're in Tennessee, you're in bourbon country. Now, the Bourbon Trail is up around Louisville, but I was 130 miles south, and I needed to get to Springfield, Missouri that evening. So there's no way. It would have made for a long, even if I stayed in the area, it would have made for a longer drive on Saturday to Albuquerque. The plan was Russell Springs, pick up the liquor in Clarksville to go to Springfield, Missouri to Albuquerque, Albuquerque to home. So I'm hightailing to Clarksville. I get to Elite Wine and Spirits. The place is awesome. I haven't seen a liquor store like this in a long time. It's not huge, but it's not small. But it's super busy, and they had a bunch of cool spirits there. So I picked up a few bottles. I got this stuff called Derringer, small batch, and it's one of the twisted bottles. It just kind of has a slight twist to it. I've had tequila like that. I actually have a decanter that's the same shape. But what made it cooler is it also came with an additional cork, which was an old school like Derringer pistol, like Civil War style with a curved pistol handle, almost looked like a Nerf gun from the 80s. And so I picked that up, super cool. Picked my son up a bottle of something and picked up this other stuff that is, it's aged in the Mississippi River. So this time it's around 7 o'clock, starting to get dark a little. And I go to check and I am like 6.5 hours at least from Springfield, Missouri, which sucked. So I'm driving to Springfield, Missouri. And of course, it's not on any major interstate. It's on old school highways. I mean, they're 4 lanes, 2 and 2. But man, when you have to go really far and there's no major interstate, that makes shit last. That makes shit take forever. Get to Springfield. It's like 2:30 in the morning, Springfield time. So we're talking Central. Now, granted, I've been up since 4:30 in the morning, California time or Arizona time. So really, I guess it's more like just after midnight, like 12:40. But here's the thing. I miscalculated the difference between Springfield and Tulsa, Oklahoma. And here's why that matters. Because I want to make a new desk, a new studio desk. And I got this thing in my head about making it out of wood, like slab wood. And so I found a seller on Facebook. It's like $12 a foot. And he's 30 miles outside of Oklahoma. Because if I had not settled on this guy, I would have found something in Texas. So I don't know why I thought this, but I thought that Tulsa, where I was going was like 60 miles away. So I wanted to get as close as I could, as close as possible to my destination that night. But the guy's only open by appointment on the weekends. His Saturday, I didn't want to screw up his Saturday. And so I wanted to get up and get over there as early as possible. And so I took a shower. By the time I got done taking a shower, it's 3:30 in the morning. I set my alarm for 6:30 and I couldn't sleep for like 20, 30 minutes. So I got about 2 hours of sleep, jumped in the car, was out of the hotel before 7 a.m. and started heading to this guy's shop outside of Tulsa. It took a long time. And the distance was actually like 120 miles. So it wasn't 60 miles. It was like 2.5 hours outside of where I needed to be, 3 hours. But I was probably 15 miles from this guy's farm. And I realized on Waze, the navigation app, I had put on there to avoid tollways. Because there's a toll road that comes down through Joplin and through Tulsa. And I didn't mind paying the tolls, but I could have been there maybe an hour earlier if I wasn't going on these back streets. But here's the thing. There's something kind of fun. Now, let me preface this by saying, if you're not in a rush, which I was, but there's something kind of fun about driving through small towns And so I kind of enjoy that. And it's also good to keep you awake if you're tired, because every 20 or 30 miles, there's another town, and you always wake up when you're going through these towns. Anyway, so I go to this guy's place. Again, farm country. There's horse shit everywhere because he has a few horses, and you pull up into his gravel driveway. I mean, those of you who are familiar with farm country know exactly what I'm talking about. So I pull up, flies everywhere, say what's up to the guy. I go in there and check out and pick out my piece of wood pretty much. And I filmed all this stuff. It's super freaking cool. The guy comes around with a little forklift and he's like chainsawing this thing, and then he takes it over to his big cutter. In the meantime, I had parked a little further away from where all the action was. So I asked him, I said, hey, should I move the car a little closer? He goes, yeah, if you want to, go ahead. It's like, all right, cool. Get in the Infiniti, back it up. And as I turn, I hit something. I'm like, what the hell did I just hit? I look at the overhead camera, which, by the way, this thing has an overhead camera. Woohoo! Isn't it weird? This is a 2009 vehicle with an overhead camera. The vehicle I rented last summer, the 2020 Infiniti QX60, doesn't have that. It's bullshit. Anyway, this thing has it, but guess what? It's not very good. It's not HD. The guy's gravel driveway is gray, and it just looks like bad graphics because there's big gray splotches around me too. It's like, what the hell? Is that a tree? Was that a bush? Or whatever it was. Maybe it was a landscaping timber. The 4x4 landscaping timbers. So I pull forward and I hit something else. I'm like, oh, whatever that is. I gave it a little gas. I don't know why I gave it a little gas. So then I backed up and I hit something again, and then I did like this 8-point turn. I basically parallel parked between two boulders when I was doing that little backing up. Not initially. So I go over there and I don't even want to look. So I pull up, I back into the spot, and then I get around and look, and I had like smashed the bottom passenger part of my front bumper. And it's not the first time this vehicle has had this issue, because I could tell that someone did a shit job repairing that part of the bumper. Must be boulders everywhere. They did a shit job, because the car it's like a pearl white, and that part was like rattle canned gloss white. But at this point I have some fender clips missing. The little fender trim is kind of like hanging off. I'm like, fuck. So I get the slab, load it into the car, tell the guy what happened. I said, don't worry about it. It's not your fault. It's my fault. Peace. I'm out of here. So I pull out of there. The thought was, I'm going to go to some store along the way. There's one right across the highway. I'm going to buy some tape, like some duct tape. And I'm going to tape this bitch. And then it'll be good. For some reason, I didn't do that. I drove. I was short of time. At this point, I was like 400 something miles away from Albuquerque, New Mexico, which was my next stop. I'd reached out to a few people and said, hey, I'm coming through Albuquerque. What's up? Yeah. So now I couldn't get to Albuquerque at 10, 11 o'clock at night. I needed to get there. I'm probably 100 miles outside of Amarillo, or outside the Texas border, probably 20 miles outside the Texas border, or whatever. I was somewhere over there. I pull over and finally go into a place, get gas, and start looking for tape. And they don't have any duct tape. They have box tape. They have shipping materials, no duct tape. And box tape, in retrospect, probably could have worked. I was like, oh, that's weird. Well, I'll go down to the next truck. I'll go down to a truck stop. They're bound to have this. I'm kind of tired, so I decided to jump on Instagram Live. So I'm talking to Wes Tankers on Instagram Live, and I'll go, hey, you want to hear something? Check this shit out. So as I'm getting on the highway, I'm just gunning it, man. I'm flying through these gears. I mean, this all 390 horsepower is just screaming. This torque is just sucking me to the back of the seat. And then I hear this loud pop. I knew immediately what had happened. So I went down to the next exit, went around, got back to that part, and there it was, getting back on the on-ramp. There it was, the middle of the highway was that fender trim piece, the trim, which is kind of like this arc, this gray arc, not the actual bumper, but the trim was in the middle of the road. And I knew I just snapped that fucker off. Like, how could I have forgotten in like 2 minutes from going to the store, trying to buy the tape to secure said piece, to just getting on the highway and snapping that bitch off. So I grabbed it, threw it in the back of the car, continued on my way to Amarillo, and then eventually got to Albuquerque about 8 o'clock, hit up my good friend Randy Arnold. And Randy's one of those guys, old rocker, stoner, smokes weed for days, been sober on alcohol for years. And he was telling me a story that the Acura dealership refers to him as weed smoking Randy. They had ordered a 2017 NSX for him when it came out. He had bought the 1991 NSX from him and just buys nothing but Hondas and Acuras from the dealership. So he's like well known. Took me to a place called the Frontier, which has been there for, I don't know, as long as he's been there, since the 60s. And then that was that. I was tired. I was beat. Next morning I got up and on my way home, stopped a bunch of times, filmed a bunch of video, And of course, that's what you see in the YouTube video that's coming out, if that's not out already. So that was it. Got home, bought a bomb for it. It's like a chlorine bomb you stick in your car. Just did that. Bought a radio unit for it. And what this thing is, it's a Grom V-Line 2. And what it does is it turns the factory radio into a modern radio, because the navigation of this thing is from 2008, 2009, because nobody flashed it or updated it, or you just can't do it. So half the shit I was looking for just did not exist on my road trip, which is kind of funny. Which, like the liquor store I went to, did not exist in Clarksville, Tennessee 10 years ago. But this thing gives me CarPlay and wireless CarPlay. So I can't wait to get that thing and get it installed. Coming up, Chris Moffitt, AZ Ride of the Week. It's time for the Arizona Ride of the Week, sponsored by Higher Quality Detail out of Tempe, Arizona. They specialize in premium vehicle protection solutions and cosmetic customizations as your one-stop shop, ranging from basic detailing options through ceramic coating, paint correction, protection films, and more. Visit Ceramic Pro Arizona, one word, on Instagram, or Higher Quality Detail, that's HYER, also one word, and get started looking your best today. Today's guest is AZ Stinger, AZ_Stinger, Chris Moffitt. Welcome to the show, Chris.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
How long have you been in the Arizona ride scene?
I've been in the car scene since I was younger. I used to go to PAVs way back in the day with my dad. So that kind of got me into the car scene. And when I got my first car, that's when it kind of just all started.
And for those listening, I think I've mentioned the PAVs before. If not, that's the Scottsdale Pavilions. It's this place that used to, up until 2020, every Saturday night, you can go to the PAVs. And correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, because you've been here. I've only lived here 6 years, but I think it was like the nation's longest running weekly auto event / car show, because you don't really get judged. So I don't know if that really constituted as a car show, but isn't that what it was maybe?
Yeah, it was the longest continuous show that was going on in Arizona, pretty much in the States. So
I think it's done now, like permanently is what I had heard.
It's done according to Rock and Roll. I think it's Rock and Roll McDonald's or shows. They are trying to put it on, but the reservation is we're at their mercy of letting us do it anymore. So
that's too bad.
It's probably not going to happen.
So how long have you had your vehicle you have now? Tell us a little about whatever you had before the Stinger, and then tell us the Stinger.
So before the Stinger, I had a 2019 Toyota Camry that I bagged, I wrapped.
It was green?
I did front and rear bumpers. Yeah, it was green. First I did half and half. Then I took off my black, so it was white and green, and then we did a mama green from a Nosatec. I got a lot of help from High Ref Sports, and they sponsored me on that build, which was amazing. And then I just got bored of that car. It wasn't a good platform for me because I wanted to go fast. I wanted to have that horsepower and that tunability, I guess. I sold that, and then I got a 2020 Kia Stinger. That's now full bolt-on, bagged, wide-bodied, and it's fun.
I think it's pretty badass. Tell us about the Kia Stinger a little bit, because I remember when those cars came out. Are they 2019 or 2020 cars? I know they're relatively new, but the styling is pretty badass, and they're pretty quick, aren't they?
I want to say they started coming out 2018.
18.
Yeah, 18. I want to say 18. I might be wrong, but I want to say 18. But they started coming out. They do have all-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive versions. Mine is a 3.3-liter twin turbo all-wheel drive GT2 version, which is the top of the line Stinger you can get. It's full bolt-on, catless downpipes, catback. I have a dyno comp tune. It's stacked with a JB4 tune also. My baseline numbers were, I think it was on a hot day, it was 302 and 383 torque. That was to the wheels. That was baseline. Now on 91 octane, I'm at 450 and 480 torque. And then on 100 octane, I'm at 480 horsepower and 514 torque. And that's to the wheels.
How much does that thing weigh?
4,300 pounds. She's big. She's heavy.
Because I was listening, I'm like, those are just stupid, crazy numbers, though. When you think about it, it's crazy. These have two downpipes. It's a primary downpipe and then a secondary. So the secondary downpipe's about an hour and a half install. The primary downpipes are about 6 to 8 hour install. So everybody kind of just leaves those alone. But if you do replace those, you can get like another 30 to 40 horsepower on top. But that install price is insane. And I don't want to do 6 hours of labor to pull those out. So I just left them stock. So 6 hours labor. Do you do a lot of the stuff yourself and then take it somewhere for tuning?
Yeah, so I installed the bags myself. I wrapped the car myself. I have help with a friend, Jimmy. He's my wrap guy. But the downpipes, the catback, the bags, I installed everything myself. I do have help with a buddy, Nick, that's in California that does. He gives me a lot of my parts I want to say on a discounted price, but I also support him as a small business because he's very huge in the Stinger community and the G70 community because it's kind of the same platform.
You guys want to wrap my Infiniti?
I would love to wrap your Infiniti.
All right, we'll have to talk about that later. I'm serious. I mean, it comes in a cool color. It's that weird kind of like pearly white, but I think I want to go with something else. And a lot of the local shops, much respect to them, but they have overhead and they're just so damn expensive. And we know how much it's really material and labor. That's what it is. Material, labor, and reputation.
Yeah, so material normal. I'm going to put like everybody on blast on this one. So material cost alone is it depends on material, but normally it's anywhere from $750 to $900. But with chrome, it can get up there in price.
Right.
Then labor is anywhere from $1,500 depending on the car. But then you have those shops that will charge $3,500, $4K. But it's also that they have that overhead, they have that insurance, and sometimes you don't even get that quality anymore because they're all about volume and not quality. Jimmy, he works out of the garage. For me, he would rather waste money and do it right. So he doesn't make money, but your car's still going to look perfect. So he's in that mindset of, I want your car to leave my garage as like a show quality than having little issues. Because I can go around to these car meets and pick these wraps apart and you see little issues. You see contaminants. You see stretch lines. You see these corners that aren't flawless. And it's just like, breaks my heart because I asked those guys, I'm like, how much did you pay? And they say $3,500. I'm like, you need to take that back and get that corner fixed because it's just it's going to pill up soon.
That's funny.
So, but yeah, I mean, from good garage shops, you're going to pay anywhere from $1,800 to $2,500. And then you go to an actual shop anywhere from $25 to, I've seen it go up to $9,000.
$10,000. I won't say who it is, but we have a local person here that the rumor is they paid $10,000 for the wrap on their car.
Yep. I know who that is.
Yeah, and it's like, you paid what? And it's not even, it's like a mirrored wrap. It's like they designed half the car and just did the mirror on the other half. You could tell when you look at certain parts of the bumper. It's like this bumper is perfectly split down the middle where you can tell.
So printed wraps, like I'll throw him just because he has probably the best printed wrap out there, which is Camaro ZLS. He has the Transformer Camaro. So his printed wrap it's money just because it's so custom, it's printed. So you're going to spend that money on that custom side. And then chrome also, like satin chrome and just chrome, you're looking at $1,500 just for the material.
Is that Allen?
Yeah, it's Allen.
Optimus, yeah.
Yep, Optimus. I'm really debating on doing like a satin chrome on my car, but that's $1,500 in material, and I really don't want to do it.
Right.
But to be different, I might still do it.
Yeah,
so
that's
we'll
all
see.
Fancy. I'm just looking for a basic color change.
Yeah.
We'll see.
We'll talk.
We'll talk. It's one of those things where it's like, oh, I want to do this. I want to do that. And at the end, it'll probably just look the way it looks right now for the next 6 years.
It's okay though. Sometimes that white looks good. I love my color, Kia calls it ceramic silver. I love this color. There's like a blue little flake in it, but you have to get close to see it. And I guess it's kind of like the Dodge, I think it's called Smoke Show, which is like a wolf gray with a blue flake in it, if I think right. But I love this gray color, but I like to be different. I want to go out there and kind of just wow, I guess. Like when I look at the car, I want to be like, wow, that's my car.
Yeah, my goal with the Infiniti is I want to pull up and not everybody say, oh man, where's the NSX?
Yeah. For me, it's about what I like. I love cars. It's a passion. I'll help anybody out. If somebody's in California and they need help, I'll see what I can do to help them. So anybody's here, I'll try to help them. Like I'm that type of person where I will go from, person to person to person to help that individual out. So it's kind of like, for me, I want their car to look good. I want my car to look good. I want everybody's car to look good.
Right.
So
tell us about AZ Elites.
Yeah. So AZ Elites, I want to say was created, I want to say about a year ago. AZ Camaro and Jay Wrecker kind of made this club, and we have about 44 members in the club so far.
Why AZ Elites for you?
So for me, I love the family of it.
Mm-hmm.
For me, like I kind of got out of the car group because there's always that drama, always that there's always something wrong with the club. but it started to be like a family, and I hung out with everybody anyways. So I ended up joining, and we've been doing like a lot of like, fundraisers and things like that we could help the community.
It's awesome.
But with COVID, it's kind of, it's hard to do a lot of things because of, 50 people max. So we can't really have a big meet or fundraisers or charities or anything like that. But we try to help everybody out within the community. It really doesn't matter. Like for me, like how I look at it, I don't care if you're in Kamikaze or Head Turners or Elevate or any of those clubs. I'm still going to talk to you and treat you the same that I'm going to treat some other person on the road. For me, it doesn't matter what club you're in because we're all, regardless, a family in this community.
We're all one auto, brother. But yeah, you're right. It's
yeah.
I mean, you guys represent strong, and it's awesome to see. Like at any event that I'm involved in, AZ Elites is there, and AZ Elites is in 10 times more events that I'm involved in. I just kind of, my work-life balance, I haven't been able to get out nearly as much, but I can always count on AZ Elites showing up and behaving and having a good time.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. Like with the car community out here, a lot of people, like even at the meets, and people don't understand, like if you go to a meet, it's mostly like a chill meet, network community type thing. There's like their whole revving and burnouts. That's what gets meets shut down.
Yep.
And like Taco Tuesday got shut down for, I think it was like 6 months because of the revving and whatnot. So it's nice to find those responsible people to go out and enjoy and actually have a great meet or fundraiser or do like a charity event or even a birthday drive-by type thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So how can people get a hold of you? AZ_Stinger?
Yes, AZ_Stinger.
AZ_Stinger. Thanks, Chris, for joining the show today.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
I want to thank Chris Moffitt for joining. Hey, that's AZ Stinger. Awesome guy. I mean, this guy's always, every show I go to, every event I go to, he's there. And actually, that's the first time I've actually talked to him for more than 45 seconds. Usually it's at the car meet with a bunch of other guys, just small talk. And man, fun, good conversationalist. And he's been around the scene. And I think it's really awesome having guys like that or people like that on the show. I don't know. One thing that blew me away was, God, the power you can get from these Kia Stingers. Kia used to be like a brand everyone would make fun of, and maybe some of you still do, but there's nothing really to make fun of a Kia. When they first came out with the Optima, which was 2010, 2011, 2012-ish, that's like the first time I think that Kia had turned the corner for the masses. Like I've always kind of liked Kia, I like Kia Sportage and stuff like that, but I never really liked Kia Soul, but anyway. But man, they've got a nice fleet of cars. They got that SUV that looks really nice. And man, that Stinger is special. And his Stinger is really special. Real talk, I don't think I'd want any of that business from a stoplight. Maybe from a roll on the highway. Want to get to some car news? A lot of you have probably seen this video. Some of you haven't. A little while ago, I don't remember if it was I don't remember if it was 2019 or early 2020, but a former famous Instagrammer named Ben Chen wrecked his Gambala Porsche GT in Manhattan. And the video was viral. He had a blue one. I think it was like one of two in the world. He just basically played ping pong down the street, just smashing a bunch of other cars. When police approached the car, he sped off. Pretty sure he hit a police car when he sped off and crashed and ran into a few other things until he, I don't know, couldn't make it any further. The car just stopped moving or whatever. And like this video was viral. Everybody in the car community saw it. People that not in the car community saw it. And it's one of those things where it's like, man, what was he thinking? Ben Chen is fucked. I've met Ben Chen. I met him when they came through Phoenix for Gold Rush Rally 2019. A couple other guys. Well, Johnny Valencia, he's been on the show a few times. Some future guests of the show. So anyway, I was sitting there talking to him, and I mean, he seems like an okay guy. Now, he has a reputation of wrecking exotics. I was listening in. First off, it's always a funny thing when you're standing around people who just have like tenfold the money that you have, and they're just kind of small talking. And it's the same things that you talk about with your friends, except for the things they talk about from a vehicle standpoint are so next level. Like, oh, I'm going to sell my $600,000 McLaren because, I don't know, I pre-ordered the $1.2 million one. Did you? Oh, yeah, I pre-ordered like 3 of them. You know, that's, and then, you know, you're just kind of like, yeah, those cars. Yep. But anyway, they were talking about Ben Chen. They're like, yeah, he asked me to borrow my car. And I was like, hell no. So apparently he has like a reputation of like fucking shit up. And it was too bad this video aired because we cast judgment on the people. And like I said, I've met the guy. I talked to the guy. He wouldn't remember me from Adam, but I talked to him enough to be like, okay, he's an all right guy, I guess. But he has a reputation. But here's the thing. Here's the thing that I want to talk about, because this just came out. March 17th, 2021. Charges dropped over Gambala Mirage GT driver's wild wreckage rampage in New York City. I'm sorry, what? You guys need to see this video. Maybe I'll put a link to this video in the show description. Or you can just look up Ben Chen, New York City, and you will see this video. Every automotive podcast I listen to, every automotive whatever, everyone is left with the same question. What? Now, he has a lot of money. His parents have a lot of money. Like, they have a lot of money. Because here's what happened. They couldn't prove beyond here it is. A quote from this week's court hearings reads, "The people are moving to dismiss this matter because the case cannot be proven beyond a reasonable doubt that he was under the influence of something." And that's why I got dropped. Like, that's insane. So I don't know how he got his money. There's rumors out there, and I'm just going to spread the rumor, but I'm not going to say that it's the truth. I don't know. But the rumor is Ben Chen got his money because his parents gave him a Nike factory or 2 or 3. You know, Nike is printing their own money. So Ben Chen just goes out and he buys these very expensive cars and he wrecks them, apparently. But some of the cars he's had over the years, he's had a beautiful Murcielago that he had wrecked. It was a limited number. He has several Bugattis. He has the Bugatti EB110 white. He has had I don't know if he still has it or not, one of the most iconic cars ever in the Mercedes-Benz CLK GTR, also in white. Like, we're talking the unicorn of unicorn cars. He's got a few of them in his collection. So he's got a little money. So I'd be interested to see what you guys thought about that. Not passing judgment on Mr. Ben Chen. He wasn't injured. He didn't injure anybody else as far as we know. It was just very embarrassing. And how the hell do you get charges dropped on that is a question. So if you have any comments on it, let me know. hardparkingpodcast@gmail.com. It's time for my random thought of the week. So my random thought this week, and I have a lot of random thoughts and I jot them down, but literally just the other day, I was coming home from Home Depot and I don't know what, maybe it was like a little Volkswagen Jetta or something. And I look, and in the passenger seat or in the passenger side of the car, there's this little cowboy boot sticking out, just hanging out, just chilling by the side mirror. And I look at it and I'm like, what are we doing? Like, when my wife rides with me and the rare times over the years that she's put her like foot on the dash, I said, please don't put your foot on the dash. And I say it not because it's annoying, but because it's just like a weird safety issue. How often are we really going to get in a car accident? You don't know. But I'd rather have someone with a bump on their head than their leg crammed up their pelvis or their knee sheared off and have the bottom of their leg flying and landing on somebody else's windshield. That's gross. But like, why do people do this? And I think if I were to take a wild guess, there's not a lot of people in the world that even do that. But sometimes when you're on a road trip, you see it and you're like, what are we doing? Like, why? Because if anything were to happen, you do not, as a driver, I mean, a passenger's passenger, but as a driver, I've seen drivers do stupid shit like that before too. But it's different, obviously, the driver, the passenger, but it's like the only people who typically do that are young people, right? It's always someone's girlfriend who does that. And I say that because it was a cowboy boot and skin, not a cowboy boot and jeans. It was a cowboy boot and skin. And they turned into a subdivision, maybe a half a mile up the road. But still, that was my random thought. Like, what's going on with people? Like, why do people still do that? And if it's a younger generation thing, I kind of understand because I was young once and it's that time of your life where it's like, what's the big deal time of your life? This is not a very smart thing for me to do. I should probably not do it time in your life. Want to thank Right Honda, higher quality detail, booster bath, 4-wheel online, tongue treats, rides sold, and Patreon business supporter, Kuya Automotive out of Winter Garden, Florida. If you have any comments for the show, hardparkingpodcast@gmail.com. This is your first time listening to the show. Thank you for hanging on to this point. Hopefully you have subscribed on whatever platform you're listening to. Open in India. Let me know if you're in India. Curious about that. If you want to hear me talk about something special, let me know. If you're in a position to help the podcast upgrade, join the Patreon for as little as $3 a month and get access to bonus audio as well as show swag. You can also just tell a friend and help the podcast grow, because I can't do this without your word of mouth advertising. Want to follow me on Instagram? It's at NA2NSX or JTravels, which is JHAE_travels. Join the Hard Parking Violations Facebook group. Just go ahead and fill out the information, hit submit, and I will see it and I will let you in. Unless you're a friend already, then you should be able to get in. Tell a friend. Tell everybody you know. If you're in Arizona and you want to be an Arizona Ride of the Week, hit me up. Let me know. I'm not hard to find. Check out the swag at the Teespring store. And of course, YouTube, Hard Parking Podcast or Hard Parking Media. They will both get you to me. So let's do this. Let's grow this thing together. Talk to you all next week.
Now it's stripping time.
Are you tired of your dog losing its cool in a thunderstorm or fireworks? You might want to look at Tongue Treats. TongueTreats.com. High anxiety relief, pain relief, inflammation relief. It's a direct connection between the tongue and the brain. Doesn't waste time going down to the stomach, where it gets broken down, enters the bloodstream, then to the brain eventually. By then, little Izzy, my dog, has been hiding under the house for like 20 minutes. The Tongue Treat CBD strips provide rapid results for your pet with the right amount of CBD, which is not psychoactive. It's important to test and verify your pet is getting the proper dosage. A single strip should be enough. Have doubts? There's certified analysis from a lab available on the website. Think about it. Efficacy and economy. Tongue Treats. Are you tired of blowing out your back at the bathtub while washing your dog, or subjecting your canine to a water torture bath while leashed up to a post outside? Now there's a far more effective way to wash your pet while saving your back and keeping your dog happy. It's called Booster Bath, a portable bathtub on legs. Head over to boosterbath.com, one word, and pick one up. Available in 3 sizes, this tub system features a drain, a soap cubby, and water controlling wand. This tub conveniently breaks down to be stored when not in use. Want to save 10% on your first time purchase? Head over and sign up today to make that happen. Boosterbath.com.
Shut up!